Before I start the video, let me give a bit of an update. LE SSERAFIM's first comeback album is pretty good. Here's a mini ranking of the songs I like from the album. I personally think the B-sides from Fearless are still better, but I'm definitely not disappointed by any of the tracks here. Great album, ladies. God, I don't want to make this video, but someone had to. Hi, hello, my name is Asia and I make K-pop animation videos, and sometimes I dabble into K-pop commentary here and there. This is a controversy I originally didn't want to talk about because there was so much happening at the time, it was hard to keep up with everything. But when HYBE terminated Garam's contract and had her leave the group out of nowhere, so many things didn't add up. The entire scandal felt off to me. But then after some time passed, Garam finally spoke out on an alleged friend's Instagram account. When she revealed the evidence she had, that's when everything clicked for me. I will not be going over every single thing that has been released or found, just the stuff that I personally found that was important enough to showcase. Honestly, I hated doing research for this video. I had to watch so many Kim Garam bull scandal videos and look through some obscure websites to collect screenshots and photos. I hated it so much. This is why I can't be a full-fledged commentary channel if I gotta do this much research. But I did all of this anyway because I had so many opinions on this controversy that I need to let out. There was one day recently where I thought about this scandal again and it bothered me the whole day. I took that as an opportunity to finally start thinking about working on this video. So enough with this intro, let's get into it. But first, disclaimers. I will be talking about and mentioning these topics in this video. If any of them are harmful to you, please don't watch any further. It's not worth potentially mentally harming yourself to watch this out of pure curiosity. Lastly, I don't expect this video to blow up or anything. I'm a very small channel anyway. But regardless, the comments under this video will be monitored. I will not be allowing anyone to slander Garam or Yunso since they're both still minors. So if you have something non-constructive or hateful to say, post it on Twitter or something, not here. If you don't know or remember the whole timeline for what happened, I'll try to give a brief rundown. So back in April, Garam was one of the members to be revealed for Source Music's upcoming girl group, LE SSERAFIM. But right after she was revealed, B-word accusations came out by multiple anonymous accounts. These accounts claimed that Garam allegedly B-worded them by sending threatening text messages and physically fought them. There were other accusations like her smoking, making crude jokes, and allegedly spoke sexually about Taehyung from BTS, allegedly hit someone with a brick and flower pot, and B-worded a disabled person. HYBE then released a statement denying all of the accusations and threatened legal action towards the anonymous accounts. Despite all of the accusations, HYBE went ahead with LE SSERAFIM's debut. More accusations were released, and HYBE put out another statement saying that Garam was the real victim. Then all hell broke loose at this point because then the accuser, Yunso, released a school V-word committee report that Garam received when she was in middle school, where she received a level 5 punishment. Due to this, HYBE had to cancel all of LE SSERAFIM's schedules until further notice. The alleged victim Yunso stated that due to the backlash and cyber B-wording she received online due to HYBE calling Garam the real victim, she allegedly almost unalived herself and was rushed to the hospital. You'll see why this was a big lie later. Both HYBE and Garam started getting major backlash and put out another statement announcing Garam's hiatus from the group until further notice. The victim Yunso also said that she would release more proof if HYBE didn't apologize for calling Garam the real victim, but nothing happened with that. HYBE released some of the School V-word committee report that detailed what happened between Garam and Yunso, explaining exactly why Garam received a level 5 punishment. HYBE also said that they had no plans on removing Garam from the group, and they were negotiating with Yunso and her law firm. During her hiatus, Garam appeared in a Japanese magazine called Non-No and made an appearance in the behind-the-scenes content. Side note, I'm pretty sure that content was filmed before this whole scandal happened. So I don't know why some people were mad seeing her in the magazine and content. She was even spotted walking into HYBE a few times and also apparently signed an autograph for a fan. Then sometime later, HYBE announced that Garam's contract was terminated and she will be leaving LE SSERAFIM in the company. The group will continue on as a 5-member group. Then, a whole month later, Garam made her first appearance since she left the group. She used a friend's Instagram account to write a statement. Please pause to read it, it's a devastating statement to read. After this statement was released, HYBE put out their own statement saying that they pretty much couldn't respond to her since they weren't working with her anymore. And then, Garam went on a posting spree on her friend's Instagram account. She released screenshots of text messages and even posted the entire School V-word committee report from her middle school. After this point, the internet half exploded and half went silent. Garam's fans/defenders exploded with happiness and I told you so's, while all of the people who believed that Garam was a bull suddenly went very quiet. Now, let's take this opportunity to read through the whole SVC report. This is the full story of what happened between Garam, Yunso, and a bunch of other people.
School Violence Countermeasures Committee. Explanation of the case brief. When was it opened? 3:30 p.m., Monday, June 4, 2018. Location: second floor meeting room. List of members. 7 equals Vice Principal Chairperson, Life Guidance Manager, School Police Officer, 4 parent members. Attendees: 7 of 7 all attended. Details of the consultation. Chairman. Opening declaration. We will hold a self-governing committee from now on because 7 out of 7 members of the self-governing committee attended. Please note that you have an obligation to keep secret about everything you have learned from the self-governing committee. Parents are subject to exclusion and avoidance if there is a member directly related to the headquarters issue, so if you tell us now, we will exclude them from the plenary session. Do you have it? No. Persons related to the issue. Related person 1, female student 1 Kim Garam. Related person 2, Yu Un Seo. When? Late April, early May 2018. Where? In a nearby elementary school in SNS chat room. Who? Female student 1 Kim Garam. Who? Yu Un Seo, currently transferred 23518. Why? Because of backbiting. How? Swearing and intimidation. 1. Regarding Yu Yun So's gossip about her friends, in the early days of entering middle school, Yu Yun So and about 10 female students, including Kim Garam, were close to each other. But the relationship fell apart due to Yu Yun So gossiping about her friends. 8 people including Kim Garam were angry at Yu Yun So and confronted her by swearing at an apartment for about 3 hours. They said effing B. But female student 2 and Kim Garam didn't swear at her, but just said effing speechless. 4 girls did not curse, but talked for about 3 hours. Yu Yun So said she would do well without talking behind their backs, so she decided to make up, solve it and move on. Soon after, Yu Un Seo's close male friends A and B who were attending N middle school sent a Facebook message to female student 1. The message said effing B, who do you think you are? Don't touch Yu Yun So. Female student 1 took a screenshot of the messages between her and Yu Yun So's close male friends A and B and sent it to her friend's chat room. Yu Yun So and Kim Garam had already reconciled privately, so she was still in the chat room. After receiving the absurd text messages, female student 1 sent a Facebook message to Yu Yun So which said, "You're so effing stupid, just go to the countryside. Get lost. You're disgusting." Kim Garam asked Yu Yun So to leave the Facebook message room to reduce each other's discomfort after Yu Yun So apologized in the chat room. Yu Yun So left the chat room after telling her friends that she was grateful for the time they had together. But even after this, Yu Yun So's close male friend A continued to curse at female student 1. In a Facebook message, Kim Garam asked Yu Yun So's male friend A to come out immediately, saying, "Where are you?" in order to protest for the girl who was being bullied by him. Yu Yun So's male friends A and B as well as student C asked Kim Garam, "Where are you? We want to meet you."
First of all, who are these male students and why the fuck are they threatening a female student in the first place? I hope they got punished too, because what the fuck?
Asked Kim Garam, female student 1, to solve the problems of the Facebook messages by Yu Yun So's close male friends A and B. Yu Yun So also said come to a nearby elementary school, because it wouldn't work if they only spoke to student C. At the time there were many students because there was a soccer game between G Middle School and nearby middle school in the nearby elementary school. Kim Garam, a junior middle school. Female student 1, female student 2, female student 3, male student 1, male student 2. Yu Yun So was with 6 to 7 people including Yu Un Seo's male friend, male student A, male student B, and 3rd grade older female and male. The boys at N middle school where Yu Un Seo's male friend attends showed off their strength to the 3rd grade older females and pushed the boy at G middle school, where Kim Garam attended, and began to argue, saying, "Why did you do that?" Yu Yun So was at a distance but tried to stop the boys at N middle school where Yu Yun So's male friends attended. But they did not listen and continued to verbally argue. Female student 1 said to Yu Yun So, "We gave you a warning. You said you wouldn't do it and we made up with each other. But why can't you fix this? This situation happened because of you. What are you going to do with this situation?" At that time Kim Garam promised not to gossip and even made up with her. But when this happened she said, "Go away to Busan, this is ridiculous." Female student 3 said, "You're effing doing too much." Kim Garam, her friends as well as Yu Yun So's male friends and the 3rd grade older females. Kim Garam was crying because she was scared after being threatened by the older males. In the meantime, Kim Garam's friend female student 2 told Kim Garam's older cousin who had already graduated from school. And Kim Garam's cousin called one of the threatening parties to pass over the phone and told them not to threaten and apologize to the children. At the same time, a middle school boy in the neighborhood was watching them. He also called N school's 3rd grade older female and males. They apologized to Kim Garam and other students at G middle school and left the school. Yu Yun So decided to stop being friends with her friends such as Kim Garam, then she left the elementary school with her male friends, A and B, and eventually stopped being friends with them. 2. An incident in which Yu Yun So stole female student 1's Facebook account and uploaded a photo of a female student 3 wearing only underwear.
Gee. I wonder why no one mentioned this incident when Hybe first revealed some of this report. Anyway, continuing on.
Yu Yun So, who still had bad feelings the next day after they decided not to be friends at a nearby elementary school, changed female student 1's Facebook profile to a picture of female student 3 wearing only underwear after stealing female student 1's account, as if she had posted it herself. Yoo Yun-so claimed that female student 1 had taken the selfie, which female student 3, who was changing her clothes in the bathroom, had appeared in only her underwear and uploaded it. At first, Yoo Yun-so argued that she did not post it, but later made a post admitting that she posted it. The distraught female student 3 cried and contacted her friends, including Kim Garam, in a Facebook message room. Kim Garam, who felt sorry for her friend, called Yoo Eun-seo to come out right away. Yoo Yun-so did not pick up. In response, she continued to answer the phone via Facebook for her friend. But there was still no answer. So she sent abusive text messages. If you don't pick up the phone, I'll K-word you. I need to talk to your mom, tell me her phone number. When Kim Garam asked Yoo Yun-so to come out to a nearby elementary school by 5 o'clock in a Facebook message, she came out. Victim female student 1, whose account was stolen by Yoo Yun-so, protested, "What are you going to do with my Facebook account?" It is written that Kim Garam told Yoo Yun-so to take off her clothes too. But Kim Garam argued, "Do you want me to post the same undressed picture of you like you did with female student 3? So there is a slight difference in the statement. Victim student 1 said, "Do you want me to take pictures and record like you did?" When Yoo Yun-so said she would post an apology, victim student 1 told Yoo Yun-so not to misunderstand the fact that the image that she posted on her profile picture was not hers. She also told her to write a 20-line apology on Facebook, apologizing to victim student 3 for the underwear picture. Female student 4, 5, and 6 even stopped her, saying that it seemed too much. Yoo Yun-so claimed that the victim student 1 and Kim Garam said, "Please go to Busan," instead of attending this middle school, but Kim Garam and victim student 1 said that they only said, "Go to Busan." So there is a slight difference in their statements. Female student 4 said, "Too much" to Yoo Yun-so, who causes problems every time. Yoo Yun-so claims that Kim Garam told her to write a 20-line apology within an hour and post it publicly. But Kim Garam did not say this and insisted that she write an apology quickly, so that others no longer suffer from unnecessary misunderstandings or damage which makes a difference in their statements. Yoo Yun-so wrote an apology and posted it on Facebook that night. Yoo Yun-so transferred due to a series of incidents such as stealing someone else's Facebook account and uploading pictures of her friend wearing only underwear.
So Yun-so did not transfer schools due to being bullied by Garam like she claimed. It was because she took nearly nude photos of one of Garam's friends and posted it online. Let's continue.
3. Posts made by Yoo Yun-so in the group chat room on Facebook after she transferred to another school. Even after transferring, Yoo Yun-so tells her senior in 3rd grade that female student 1 cursed at her. So 3rd grade senior called female student 1 and told her that if she didn't tell her straight she would K-word her. Since Yoo Yun-so was still talking behind the scenes and teasing her even after transferring, Kim Garam received an anonymous question on an app called Ask saying, "What about Yoo Yun-so?" When asked, Kim Garam answered, "Yeah, well, she's really annoying." Female student 3 said in her Kakao Talk status message, "Is your head an ornament without meaning? I want you to be unhappy." Yoo Yun-so kept refusing to admit her fault and asked the other schoolchildren, "What did I do wrong? Frick."
So Yun-so, the victim, didn't want to even acknowledge the fact that her posting photos of someone nude online was a horrible thing to do. This tells me that she either had no remorse for what she did, or just didn't fully understand how bad her actions were.
In addition, Yoo Yun-so told the children of middle school that she was bullied and transferred to school and said, "I didn't do anything wrong. Are you playing Iljin?" When these rumors became known, female student 1 opened a group Facebook chat room and invited Yoo Yun-so and posted a message in the chat room saying, "Did you transfer because you were scared? Don't talk like you're chasing me. There's no man who can accept your face. Don't stand in front of us." Kim Garam posted a message in the chat room saying, "You look like a kabuki, you deliver it like a dog. Your face is so funny." Female student 3 said, "The bastard is next to me. See you at the police station." Yoo Yun-so invited her close 2nd grade seniors to the Facebook chat room where only her friends were. And female student 1 asked why she let her older friends join and deleted the chat room.
Now that we read all of that, let's quickly look at this photo Yun-so posted that caused Garam to go on hiatus and ultimately forced to leave Lesera Film. This is obviously a cropped version of the SVC report. She knew if she showed the whole thing, it would reveal the terrible thing she did. Let's also look at these photos that were posted online by I believe a fellow classmate of Garam. This is Garam from when she was in middle school, and this is her desk. Please read the gross and disgusting messages that were left on her desk carefully. Now there's no way to prove that Yun-so herself wrote these messages on her desk, but it does prove that Garam was in fact. And let me quickly point out something before we move on to Yun-so. This photo is not of Garam, but a completely different girl. Y'all for real thought this was her? Also, y'all really thought she was smoking? I know y'all know exactly what a cigarette looks like. That's obviously a lollipop stick. Be fucked for real. I'm not gonna show that other photo with the perfect drawings on the board, because of the drawings. I don't know who drew that stuff on the board, but I hope they got in trouble. Plus, what teacher let a middle school student draw stuff like that on their classroom chalkboard? Okay, literally. Putting screenshots in order for Yunso was for some reason a little more difficult for me than putting Garam's in order. And I gathered more screenshots for Garam than for Yunso. So how is that possible? Before I begin, I honest to God don't remember why I got these screenshots, and I'm not gonna go out of my way to look for the context of them again, so I'll just show them now. I think this last one further proves that they were friends. Anyways, Yunso is the main victim in this entire situation, correct? Well, I think I beg to differ. Remember that time she claimed she almost unalived herself from the backlash she received because Hybe called Garam a victim? Take a good look at these. She allegedly went to a Winner concert on the same exact day, not to a hospital for her unalive attempt. Got that? Cool. Next, let's read what this anonymous person said about Yunso here.
Post the same shield post if you attended Gojiak Middle School. Everyone knows your group were so noisy. LOL. Yunso moved to our middle school and got close with the kids in the class. She took TikToks and fought with other kids in groups while insulting the kids she was fighting with on her asked. She and her friends did this, and it's disgusting to see her pretending to be pitiful. Stop posting shield posts for Yunso. I held it in and didn't upload anything because Gojiak Middle School students are commoners and Yunso has friends in every school. It wasn't because I didn't have anything to upload. LOL. You bring your group to harass others, but reporting to the SVC is so funny. I laughed so hard when I heard all of it was because what Yunso did. Did you forget when you and your friends fought with a girl in the same grade and insulted her by always mentioning your friends from 2nd and 3rd grade on Asked? LOL. If you are reading, apologize and reflect on yourself for what you and your friends did to Korean name in 2nd grade. LOL. And don't say this is unfair.
There's no way to confirm any of this happened, but you know. Got that? Cool. Next, let's also read this post another person posted somewhere. Don't know where, but this is the screenshot.
There are a lot of people mocking the story, so I will organize it and upload it. At the time that I posted the story, I thought only my friends around me would watch it, and I think the context of what I said became awkward because I posted it in a situation where I was upset and emotional and heated. First, Yunso me from elementary to middle school, and she cursed my parents like a picture and physically threatened me. This is not the most important part of the situation, so I won't elaborate on it now. However, the reason I brought this up is because I asked myself what I did wrong. And as a party who had been bullied for about a year, the perpetrators who had lied to each other for about a month hid under the word victim, and I was accused of being the second perpetrator. Secondly, the fact that Yunso claimed to transfer is false. In Yunso's position, it is a lie that she transferred because of Garam. Also, she posted a picture of classmate 1 who was Garam's friend at the time in her underwear on classmate 2's account. Later on, she transferred to another school. In the process, Yunso was disciplined with number 6. All of this is what Yunso has said herself, and she has the evidence of this.
Oh, were they talking about these? I don't know if there was more, but that's all I found. Got that? Cool. And lastly, if y'all still don't believe that Yunso took photos of someone in their underwear and posted it online, maybe these will help? If those screenshots in the SVC report doesn't convince you that this incident most likely happened, I don't know what else to tell you. That was all of the screenshots I collected. I did see that there were like a ton of Twitter threads of people exposing Yunso. The stuff I managed to gather took a lot of energy and time for me to find them, so I couldn't look through everything. I'll link the websites I used to find these screenshots. Plus, those websites do contain the Twitter threads I'm talking about. If you have the time and patience unlike me to look through them all, they will be linked in the description below. And also, I am aware that actual photos of Yunso got leaked, but I didn't want to look for them. Showing her face in this video would be completely wrong to do, especially since she's still a minor. And before anyone says that I showed Garam's face despite her also being a minor, she's a public figure, Yunso is not. Thank God this is the last main section of the video. This section is just me letting out all of my opinions and rants I felt thinking about this scandal over and over again. I wrote these down in a rich text document file, and they're not in any order because I wrote everything down as it all randomly popped up into my head. That explains why they're scrambled and all over the place. Apologies for that. Listen, as a victim of bull myself, I completely understand why the switch was so quick. But I will never ever justify people cyber B-wording and harassing her over this. Okay, so in certain instances I can see why some people think this way. In cases like these, staying neutral can oftentimes look like you either side with the R-word, or you simply don't believe the victim. But in cases like bull, staying neutral can sometimes mean that you're not sure who's the victim and who's the bull. Let me show you this Reddit post I found from my research. You can read the whole thing if you want. But there's this one line I want to read out. In a lot of cases, the oppressor is not easy to identify, and the situation is not black and white. In Garam and Yunso's case, The whole situation they were in was a complete mess. Everything was in the gray, but the way it was presented to the public at first made it look like it was black and white. Did that make sense? I know many people saw this TikTok and paid close attention to the song they used for it. Not gonna lie, this TikTok made me mad. Why would you post this right after the news of Garam's terminated contract comes out? I don't blame the members for this TikTok, by the way. I highly blame Hybe for this. Oh man. I got some to say about them later. I know a lot of K-pop stans did this, but I'm grossed out by the fact that some of these YouTubers with big platforms made fun of this scandal too. This situation should not have been reduced to silly drama, and OMG, the memes are so funny, haha. Y'all B-worded and harassed a 16-year-old out of a group to protect the victim. Get justice for the victim. There's nothing hee hee haha LMAOLOLROFL giggle gaggle keyboard smash about any of this. You shouldn't have any platform if you're too immature to take serious situations seriously, or if you straight up don't have sympathy for anyone. Again, as a bull victim myself, not once did I ever think about B-wording my bulls right back. Even as a child I knew that wouldn't work, and I never wanted to turn around and bull anybody just because I was getting bull. So I have no idea why everyone thought B-wording and harassing Garam was okay, because she herself is a bully anyway. Okay, to any other victims of B-wording out there. Have you ever thought about B-wording your bull or bulls back? Please let me know. I never saw not one tweet, post, video, TikTok, nothing about anyone actively trying to support Yunso. It was all literally nothing but hate and vitriol towards Garam. The whole point of supporting victims is to give as much support as you possibly can and make sure they're doing okay, right? Correct? Then why the fuck was 100% of the attention on Garam, the potential bull, and not any of it on the potential victim then? Answer me that. Seriously, why do people act like if they apologize or have any acknowledgement of themselves doing something wrong, they will for sure die on the spot? Your life is not gonna end or be destroyed if you simply apologize. I find it so weird that K-pop stans are doing everything they can to not blame themselves for what happened to Garam. In my opinion, I have a problem with the SVC level system they got going on. Level 5 being special education and psychological treatment seems a bit too high. Looking at this, I personally would have changed it to level 3 or 4, or I would have made it to where level 6 and up is one of the highest the students can get. That's what ended up effing Garam over and ruined her reputation and potentially her whole life. I don't see more people talk about this enough, or at all really. The fact that Garam, both in Hybe's statement and in her own statement on Instagram, felt like she had to apologize for simply defending her friend. Because Yunso committed a whole crime on her friend, is so wrong to me. How are people overlooking the fact that Yunso took underwear photos of someone and posted them online? Nearly ruining the girl's entire life? Have y'all suddenly forgotten how society treats girls and women when their nudes are exposed? Garam had every right to curse Yunso out for that. I would have done the exact same thing if I was in a situation like that, wouldn't you? Y'all need to stop trying to act like y'all have the absolute best moral compass in the world. For this next one, I talked about how Yunso went to a concert instead of being in the hospital like she said she was, but I already mentioned that earlier. I want to go ahead and add here that Yunso is gross for using Unaliving to garner sympathy from the public, while she went to a concert to have fun and left Garam to have her mental health deteriorate. You're sick, get help. Another thing that was mentioned earlier, when Yunso was allegedly B-wording another student, she portrayed herself as the victim and the victim as the bull. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Oh, this made me pissed when I saw it. If Hybe was going above and beyond to try and defend Garam, saying that she's the real victim in their statements, saying they would take legal action to protect her from these bull accusations, why the they never collect the evidence and end up terminating her contract? It doesn't make any sense. How are they gonna sit here and publicly fight for her, but then privately give up on her? It's all With the way everything played out, I believe this claim 100%. I bet as soon as the bull accusations started coming out, they probably had a secret meeting to use the scandal to bring more attention to the group's debut. That's probably why they ended up debuting them with the accusations looming over their head. Especially Garam's. Then when Hybe saw how good of a response LE SSERAFIM got without Garam, that was when they probably decided to kick her out of the group. They were more than willing to fuck 16-year-old's life, just have their group get more clout and make them more money. Fuck off Hybe labels and Source Music. You're gross. This feeds more into the noise marketing theory. It wouldn't surprise me if Hybe already knew about everything but debuted her anyway to get more eyes on the group. Bad publicity is still publicity according to many companies. No really, why did international K-pop stans have such a horrible reaction to this scandal? Because hear me out. If someone like Justin Bieber or Megan Thee Stallion was exposed to being a bull in middle or high school, would they get this vitriol reaction from their fans? Hell no. Nobody would even blink at this news. Countries outside of Korea don't take B-wording as seriously as they do, so I ask again. Why the hell did international fans partake in criticizing B-wording and harassing Garam for bull accusations? This is why y'all need to stop placing these super high expectations on these idols. Like I said before, I don't blame the members at all for any of this happening, they just got swept up into it. They have no choice but to act like this never happened. They may seem like they're smiling more nowadays because they have to, it's forced upon them. If they publicly express any sadness for Garam leaving the group, they will get an obscene amount of backlash. So now they literally have to pretend that a sixth member never existed in their group. How sad is that? This is a pretty big problem in today's social world, especially for people who are Gen Z. This new generation has been actively trying to advocate for mental health amongst other things. While that's obviously a great thing, there's a new problem that is just now being acknowledged. Some people think that mental health should only be cared about if 1. You don't showcase how bad it can get, aka the ugly side of mental health, 2. It's your own mental health, and 3. It's people you like and care about. Number 3 applies here. People started to completely disregard Garam's mental health because they didn't like her anymore. They thought she was a bull that didn't deserve to be an idol anymore. It's support idols' mental health until they make a mistake, or until they get unconfirmed accusations put onto them. At this point, I think people use the support mental health facade to hide the fact that they don't actually sympathize with others at all. They can't be honest about it because they might start being seen as a sociopath or a narcissist. That was all from my notes, and that's it for this video. I'm finally done with it. I'm so relieved. I'm so happy I finally got all of my thoughts out from this scandal. They sat and brewed in my head for months. I don't want to make another video like this ever again. I hate doing extensive research, LMAO. I'll stick to topics that require the most basic surface research. Not this iceberg shit. I think it took me 6 hours just to write this script. Right now I have no idea how long it's gonna take me to actually make the video. With the amount of work I put into this video, this shit better get at least 100 views. Since I'm ending this off, I might as well give some updates for the people who watched until the end. I'm planning on taking a hiatus soon, but I don't know exactly when. That doesn't mean I'm gonna stop uploading for a bit. I plan on making a bunch of TikTok animations to give y'all something while I rest. And I wanna rest because my arm hurts every time I work on animating. So I'm trying to give my body a month of rest to let my arm heal. And then f it up all over again when I come back. Sorry, let me say this final thing. To all of Garam's fans that constantly comment under LE SSERAFIM's posts about her, please stop doing that. I know you're sad and angry about what happened to Garam, trust me, I am too. Why do you think I made this video? But first off, Garam cannot return to the group. She would most likely get backlash all over again. Do you want that for her? I bet not. And second off, the whole group would suffer if she was let back in. It would be so wrong to have the other members get screwed over even though it's not their fault. So please stop commenting about Garam in their comments. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Weverse, wherever, just stop. Another thing I'll say is, okay, originally I said in this script that I was turned off by LE SSERAFIM due to the scandal, but now I don't feel that way anymore. And the last thing I want to say is, I want to apologize to Garam on behalf of the K-pop community. Now some of you might think that I don't have to do this, but I personally feel like I have to. You think all of the people who sent D-word threats to Garam are gonna say sorry? You think the Chinese netizens that allegedly wrote R-word fan fictions about Garam are gonna say sorry? You think Hybe labels and Source Music are gonna say sorry? You think Yinso of all people is gonna say sorry? Of course not, so somebody has to do it for them. Kim Garam, I am so sorry for all of this. I'm so sorry that Hybe labels failed to protect you despite stating publicly that they would. I'm so sorry that K-pop fans disregarded your mental and physical health because they thought bulls deserve to get bulled. I'm so sorry that your reputation has been potentially ruined forever. And it may be hard for you to live a normal life. I'm not religious, but I pray that you can recover from this horrible time in your life. And I'm so sorry that Yinso ended up getting exactly what she wanted in the end. All she wanted was to ruin you inside and out, over what? A simple friendship that ended up failing all because she started talking provoked? And then how the anyone decide to retaliate by taking nude photos and post them online? How mad and do you have to be to do something like that over losing your friend? Look, I get it. Friendship breakups are very hard to deal with, they suck so bad. But having that extreme of a reaction is very worrying and horrendous. When Yu Garam was officially announced as a member of an idol group, Yinso knew exactly what to do from that point on. And unfortunately, everything played out in her favor. It sucks, man. That's about all I can say about it. Before anyone says something like, Yinso is just a minor, go easy on her. She has plenty of room to grow, blah blah blah, I know that. I know she's still a minor and she still has room to change for the better, but after the pulled, why should I go easy on her? What she did was absolutely disgusting. She allegedly bullied multiple people including Garam. She made everyone think she was on the brink of K-wording herself when she was actually at a concert having the time of her life. She potentially ruined Garam's life for revenge, I assume. And for fuck's sake she posted nudes of another child online, all because Garam ended their friendship. And you want me to go easy on her solely because she's a minor? No, not happening. Unless she gets major help, I can easily see this horrific behavior also bleed into her adulthood. All I can say is that I can only hope Yunso gets help. And I also hope that Garam is talking to a counselor or therapist to help her heal through this insane amount of trauma she must be dealing with now. Okay, this video is done. I said everything I needed to say. If I missed anything or got information wrong or something, please let me know in the comments. If you want, please go watch my animations and other commentary videos if you're interested in seeing more of my content. If you're a Garam fan, feel free to share this video around. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Oh, one more update. Let's go.